Earlier today, the media called the race for Joe Biden, declaring him the next president of these United States. Donald Trump rejected this, saying that they will begin the legal battle on Monday, with Rudy Giuliani saying the media doesn't declare the winner. They can call the race, but who cares about the media? This is going to make it to the courts, and until the race is officially certified and legal challenges are over, they are not accepting defeat. Now, I don't know ultimately what's going to happen, but my personal opinion is that I think Trump's legal path to victory is slim, but it does exist. There's something else that needs to be said, however. As you noted from the thumbnail and the title of this video, even MSNBC is slamming the Democrats, saying even if Joe Biden wins, it will be a one-off. This election looks like a complete rebuke of the Democratic Party and their brand. They are suffering, losing House seats, which no one thought possible. The control of the Senate is hanging in the balance, but it's looking like it is going to be Republican. All eyes on Georgia's runoff elections or special elections upcoming. This will be where ultimate control of the Senate is decided. Democrats at the state level did not win a single legislative chamber. They're hoping to flip Arizona, but it's looking really bad for Democrats across the board. We even heard the other day that one Democrat broke down crying as they lost. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like we don't really have any clear winners. You know, Donald Trump is tracking to lose the White House. Joe Biden, they're declaring in the media as the next president. I know there's going to be legal challenges. But the Republicans made gains in the House, are likely to hold the Senate and state legislatures. This means that gerrymandering efforts and local politics, which will greatly benefit Republicans' chances in 2022, Republicans are doing really well. The far left is being rejected. And as much as Ocasio-Cortez wants to pretend that, no, in fact, we're doing great, they're not. Moderate Democrats are roasting them, saying, you cost us these seats. And now even MSNBC is saying the same thing. Let's take a dive beyond the presidency and see what's happening down ballot and how this is going to impact everything as we move forward. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you this. I know there are a lot of people, they're telling me, Tim, I'm not going to give up. Donald Trump must win. I hear you. Trump should take every legal channel he can and make every legal claim. And I want to make sure that the results of this election are cleanly certified and we work through any and all accusations. But I tell you this, even if Trump loses, he will be, as some are saying, a kingmaker. He's going to be propping up and giving victories to many people across this country. We've already seen it. Now, look. The reason the Democrats are doing well in the Senate, but not necessarily going to take it, is because there were more Senate seats held by Republicans that were up for re-election, which means next go around, Republicans may solidify their control. But instead of just talking and ranting, let's dive in and see exactly what MSNBC had to say. And I will show you all the instances in which the far left is being rejected, the Democrats are actually losing. And we'll start with MSNBC. Before we do, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. I got a P.O. box if you want to send stuff. But the best thing you can do is share this video. I know there's a lot of people who are Trump supporters saying they will never stop fighting and never give up. And many of them seem to be upset with me because I'm not. I don't know. I actually don't know why. And most people seem to be in a similar space. But listen, I tell you this. Don't let people on the right simply believe it's been this big tragedy. Republicans still had a tremendous showing and rejected all of the media, all the polls, and sent Democrats crying, and even MSNBC rejecting Democrats. And this is something Democrats probably should recognize as well. You're doing bad. I mean, maybe you've won the White House, and congratulations to Joe Biden if that's the case. But you got to pay attention to this stuff, man. It is not as clean as people might want it to be. So if you think this is important information people should know, please consider sharing. It does help the channel. But don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's read from the Daily Mail. Joe Scarborough calls the election result an absolute repudiation of the Democratic Party as a brand and says Biden's win will be a one-off. MSNBC host Joe Scarborough called the election an absolute repudiation of Democrats despite Joe Biden's lead. Now, at the time of this article, it was just before they announced the victory. Quote, I've got to put a sidebar in here because after the dust settles, If Joe Biden ends up winning the presidency, then I think a lot of people are going to turn to what happened to the Democratic Party, said Scarborough, host of Morning Joe. There is no way to put this other than to say Joe Biden winning looks like a one-off. This election, for the most part, was an absolute repudiation of the Democratic Party as a brand. Their brand doesn't work across most of America. It just doesn't. Scarborough cited disappointing results for Democrats in the Senate, where Republicans look set to retain a majority, and the House, where Democrats saw their majority shrink. They got routed in Senate races they should have won. And I mean, if you don't believe me, just look back at the predictions. Are Democrats going to win 9, 10, 11 Senate seats? A frustrated Scarborough said. The House results are perhaps even more shocking. Nobody thought that this was going to be close. The weekend before the election, Republican pollsters were talking about hemorrhaging support in suburbs and couldn't believe the numbers, he continued. They said, we're going to get destroyed. Well, it ended up that they couldn't believe the numbers for a good reason. The numbers were wrong, Scarborough added. He also noted that Democrats failed to flip control of a single state legislature. That is crazy. Giving Republicans a powerful upper hand in redrawing congressional districts in the next term, something that occurs every 10 years. This is going to decimate Democrats. You need to understand how bad this is for them. I was talking to the smartest data people alive that basically told me the poll numbers were a mirage in Florida and across the upper Midwest, Scarborough concluded. Those same people say that the Republicans are going to have a huge year in 2022. Just looking at this data, looking at our exit polls, if they don't correct course, if the Democrats don't correct course, my friends, taking the state legislatures may be one of the most significant victories for the Republicans, and it needs to be highlighted. Right now, you got these low information leftists and they're dancing and gloating and they're like, why are you denying reality, Tim? Donald Trump lost. I'm not. I'm perfectly centered, y'all. I recognize the media called it for Biden. It's looking really good for him from an electoral standpoint. I recognize there is going to be a legal challenge from the Trump campaign and Trump won't concede. We don't know where it will go, but it seems like Trump has a slim path to retaining the presidency. I think it's possible. I said it was possible on November 4th that this might happen. We will see how it plays out in court. But so far, I said the media will call it for Trump. Sorry, the media will call it for Biden. Trump will file his legal battles. And then maybe Trump wins. And then they say he stole the election. It's still a possibility. Not saying it's a great possibility. But what you got to understand is while these low information leftists are all dancing around and cheering, thinking they've won everything, the Republicans have took the state legislatures. Democrats have not even taken a single one. Now there's going to be redistricting, I should say, or gerrymandering, which means that these states can now drop their congressional districts, which will likely favor Republicans, and then the Republicans will end up taking the House in 2022. We will see where it goes from there, but Joe is right. Joe Biden may be a one-off. I think we might see a rubber band effect from a Joe Biden presidency. If he is constrained by a Senate GOP, it is possible, depending on perspective, that people are going to blame Joe Biden for not doing anything or for making things worse. We'll see if he can deal with COVID properly. A lot of people think it's just going to magically disappear. We'll see how that plays out. A lot of people seem to think he'll get the economy back on track, but they trusted Trump more for that. If we go from a wonderful economy in 2019 to a horrible economy in 2021, there will be a snapback. And 2024 is going to be brutal for Democrats. I don't know who is going to be the next candidate, but the Lincoln Project thinks it will be Tucker Carlson. I kid you not. We'll get to that. I'm not entirely convinced. Let me read a little bit more and then I'll show you evidence of the Democrats and the left's repudiation. Scarborough's lament followed soul searching from other liberal figures after the Democrats' hotly anticipated blue wave failed to materialize. Rep. Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat from Virginia who narrowly won a second term, yelled out her frustration in a caucus conference on Thursday, accusing party leaders of bowing to demand from the liberals like members of the squad. AOC is not a liberal. Spare us, please. She is a progressive. I'm sure she doesn't like being called a liberal either. I'm a liberal. They make fun of me. We need to be pretty clear, Spanberger said. It was a failure. It was not a success. We lost incredible members of Congress. No one should say defund the police ever again. Woo! I love it. Spanberger said, referring to one of liberals' demands. No, progressive demands. Nobody should be talking about socialism. You'll love to hear it. You do. Now, there are a lot of populist leftists in the dirtbag socialist side that I can only imagine in the coming weeks, months, and years will find themselves allied with Trump, with former Trump supporters and conservatives. I know you may be saying, no way, Tim, a socialist and a Trump supporter. Oh, you betcha. You see, the Trump supporters are going to be mad about Joe Biden. They're going to hold a grudge, and they're going to be outraged over Joe Biden's foreign policy and international trade policy. And guess what? Many people on the left who are demanding a Green New Deal and a bigger minimum wage and, you know, all of these wonderful things like Medicare for all, they ain't going to get it. So I can only imagine while you will still see some of this bickering, it's only a matter of time before we see some kind of populist general group of people in sort of agreement. And it kind of exists now, but it'll be strengthened by the fact that now everyone's going to want to get rid of Joe Biden. However, with the Democrats straight up saying we lost big on this, socialism ain't going to cut it. These young socialists don't get it. Regular people in this country don't want any of that woke stuff. They don't want any of this socialism. And that's why, well, one of the reasons they voted for Donald Trump. But let me show you hard evidence. First of all, Jeff Van Drew defeated his Democratic challenger in the House race. This is the guy who was a Democrat, refused to impeach Trump, switched parties midterm, and they said he'll never win again. It was such a big risk. Why would people in New Jersey, why would they vote for a Democrat to be a Republican, represent them in office? If we want a Republican, we'll vote Republican. Well, he switched parties and he won, proving it. He said, I'm walking away. And the people of his district said, you did the right thing. Democrats got crushed. Now, let me just say, there's some weird anomalies in the election totals. It's true. And they need to be explained. There are some instances where Joe Biden got 34% of Joe Biden's vote had no down ballot votes either, meaning people went in, just voted for Joe Biden and nobody else. A lot of people think that's weird. There's also accusations, or I should say claims by many people that in some districts, Joe Biden's vote counts violate something called Benford's Law. That states that the frequency of numbers starts at the lowest and then moves to the highest. So you should see a downward slope. For Joe Biden, it's kind of just jagged, meaning it's violating a statistical law of numbers. I don't know what that means. It's just interesting. It's not evidence necessarily of fraud. It's smoke. And as they would say, where there's smoke, there's fire. But not always. I believe every one of these claims should be looked into. And we need to make sure the numbers are done correctly. But let me just tell you, to the people who are saying, how is it that Joe Biden got a vote, but then they didn't vote for anybody else? I'm sorry, man. I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear it, but the simple answer is the media said orange man bad. Joe Biden got almost, what is he at now? Like 9 million more votes than Hillary Clinton did. These are people who don't know anything about politics. They're going in, their friends are bringing them in, they're going, orange man bad. And that's it. Many of them probably walked in not knowing anything other than Joe Biden. And so they didn't vote for anybody else. It could be that there's fraud, I guess. But let me ask you. So if they were really forging ballots or ballot harvesting, why wouldn't they just get their people in? I suppose you can argue it was a clever, circuitous tactic to be like, oh, no, we lost everything but the presidency. But the presidency is nothing without the Senate. He's going to be a lame duck president. This is what many people are already saying. Like, he might win, but if he doesn't have the Senate, he can't do anything. He's going to be sitting around for 4 years doing nothing. And now with Republicans taking the state legislatures, they're going to win big in the House. Joe Biden's going to be sitting on his hands doing nothing. Now, the stock market seems to love it. Check this out, though. More stuff. Prop 16 was struck down. I talked about this before. This is a far left proposal. They want to get rid of the civil rights provision in the California Constitution. Defeated. Sorry, it ain't going to fly. I got this tweet here from Josh Kroshar saying, this is hard to believe. Dems didn't pick up a single state legislative chamber in 2020. Republicans, against expectations, won the New Hampshire State Senate and the Alaska State House. Check this out. CNBC, Republicans solidify grip on state legislatures, which is likely to lead to redistricting and gerrymandering efforts in 2021. This is apocalyptic for House Democrats, my friends. This is probably one of the most significant impacts of this election. Look, Donald Trump may have lost, but you got to realize the Republicans may have won the war. I mean, I look at it this way, like you got this great general on the battlefield everybody loves, and he goes down, but they take the field. What does that mean moving forward? There can be some risks, but hey, man, there's other leadership. In fact, Trump can run again in 2024. He'll be pretty old. I think he's going to be, 78 by then? If Joe Biden can do it. But I tell you this right now. If you get a right populist, moderate individual who believes in the policies of Donald Trump, but has better character, landslide of Reagan proportions. No joke. I really believe it. If you think there was fraud, let me just tell you, the only reason it was possible is because there were razor thin margins. If 100 million people come out for the next right populist, there's no amount of fraud that's going to stop it. No, look, if you think there was fraud, I tell you, people voted for Joe Biden. They did. A lot of people said there's no enthusiasm for Joe Biden. I warned you about this, right? Do you remember when I said enthusiasm against Trump was as high, a little bit less, than enthusiasm for Trump? In the run-up to the election, Democrat enthusiasm was higher than Republican, not for Trump or Biden. It was just, how enthusiastic are you to vote? People hated Trump. So the boorish old general may go down, but the Republicans are taking the battlefield, dude. Check this out. Democrats have been unable to flip even a single state legislative chamber as of Friday afternoon, but they remain hopeful that one or both of Arizona's legislative chambers will flip. Vote counts are still underway in the Grand Canyon state. Republicans gained two new state trifectas in New Hampshire and Montana after the GOP ran up majorities in the New Hampshire House and Senate and flipped the Montana governorship. A state trifecta is when a single party controls both chambers. This is crazy. This means what Republicans have now, 28 or 29 states? Jeez. People do not pay attention to state level politics, and they don't realize what this means. Look at this. Democrats have wasted more than $500 million on a pathetic attempt to flip even a single state legislative chamber, said RSLC Deputy Executive Director David Abrams to CNBC in an email. We had better candidates, better messages, and better data, and saved the country from a decade of socialist majorities in Congress. We feel pretty good about that. That's... I'm sorry, man. Look, I'm not super concerned about any one individual. I'm seeing a lot of Trump supporters who are saying something important. They're saying it was never really about Trump. Trump just led the charge. And what do you do when you've got someone leading the charge and they go down in battle? Someone runs up, picks up the flag, and runs forward with it. The ideas that Trump brought about, some of them really good. Some of them, I'm not a Republican, And Trump's character, not so good. But imagine now, somebody picks up that flag with a wave of state legislatures behind them, taking that power to redistricting, resulting in a massive Republican majority in the House, which creates, and Joe Biden creates a rubber band effect. We might see a 2024 where it's, once again, Republicans control everything. I'm not saying that's absolutely perfect, but the Democrats, you better learn your lesson. Bring back moderate policies. Step back from the edge, my friend. Bring it back home. We don't want the socialism. We don't want the wokeness. We want sanity. I long for it. You got me over here voting. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the Republicans win this. I was one of these people who voted for Republicans across the board. Knowing who most of them are, and the ones I didn't, I wrote in Rand Paul and Ron Paul for some school board thing, because I'm not going to vote for it, but I'm not going to leave it empty, I guess. A lot of regular people probably said they didn't want to vote for Trump because of his character, but they didn't want to vote for the far left. So they found a compromise. If Congress wants to go far left, they'll vote Republican. But Joe Biden, while he has caved a bit, thrown them some red meat and might give in, he wasn't Trump. And he got it. I think there's some fishy things going on. I'd like to see the Trump campaign go through them in every capacity, and I will absolutely respect their right to do so. I'm not going to play the stupid games the media is playing. But I tell you what, Trump supporters, if you are not gloating at this result, I think it's short-sighted. I'm surprised there are so many people that hinged everything on Trump when this to me looks like a Trojan horse victory almost. You dangled Trump over here. They all went crazy and ran after him, and they lost the states. This is nuts. And they're laughing about it, saying when they redistrict, it's for 10 years. Wow. I'll tell you why I'm laughing. The media was wrong, and the Republicans taking these states is just 10 years of victory with 3 Supreme Court justices. My friends, you just had one of the most profound victories. Let them dance in the streets. I can't believe that the Republicans were able to dangle a Donald Trump and distract all of them and then swoop in and take New Hampshire, Alaska, I think Alaska and Montana. This is just wow. The redistricting is going to result in a decade of moderate to Republican victories in the House. Seriously. Wow. But we will carry on. I want to show you why it's not just about the states. It's about the behavior of these people. Jennifer Rubin says, any Republican now promoting rejection of an election or calling to not follow the will of the voters or making baseless allegations of fraud should never serve in office, join a corporate board, find a faculty position, or be accepted into polite society. We have a list. Oh, do you? You know what? Keep screaming. Keep screaming. My friends, I am an independent who leans left on many policy issues. If the Democrats return to sanity, bring it back towards the middle, I would gladly vote for them. I tell you what, they've soured me for quite a long time. And I'll also tell you what, y'all better back off on that gun policy because of you, I am now a proud gun owner, and I'm not going to play any of these games on gun control. But I'm independent left leaning. If the Democrats reform in a couple years, I might actually consider it. I'm not entirely convinced, though. I've seen what they do when they get power. I'm not a fan of Republicans either. But we'll see. I think we have more populist, real Republican candidates right now than we do Democrats. I'd like to see Democrats bring forward moderate populist candidates. They want to enact the will of the people and actually represent their districts. You know what's going to stop that from happening? People like Jennifer Rubin, who's saying, we have a list. I'm sure you do. Please put everyone's name on it. And then each and every one of those names will continue to vote against you. And everyone who knows and loves them will as well. How about this one? Ocasio-Cortez. Is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future? I foresee decent probability of many deleted tweets, writings, photos in the future. Ocasio-Cortez. Trump is on the ropes. Slim legal path to victory. Media has already called it for Biden. Congratulations. You lost in the state level. They're likely going to redistrict you. That was one of the big threats the DNC had with Ocasio-Cortez. 2022 is going to be crazy. Republicans just said in 2021, they hold these seats. Redistricting is now going to favor Republicans for 10 years. Man. And look at her. The oversight and the arrogance from these people, to me, is absolutely astounding. I can't say I'm surprised. But who's going to be in 2024? Lincoln Project's Schmidt. Carlson could be 2024 GOP frontrunner. Why? Why would Tucker Carlson give up his cushy, extremely powerful and influential show with all the money he makes to run for president? Maybe. I mean, Donald Trump is super rich. He didn't need to do it. He did it because he wanted to. Maybe it will be a Tucker Carlson. And I got to tell you, as much as they try to claim he's far right, these people have lost it. Tucker Carlson is a moderate with the largest cable TV news audience in history. Take that one to the bank. It's possible. I don't know for sure. A lot of people are speculating as to who may be in 2024 the presidential candidate. I think Carlson could win. I do. Because he's moderate. I saw him sit down at Politico with Cenk Uygur, and they agreed on a lot of things. I think Tucker Carlson would stand a good chance. Not that he would really want to do it. But I got to tell you, man, I know there's a lot of upset Trump supporters. Hey, take your legal route. Maybe you'll get it. Maybe we're seeing impropriety. Maybe we're seeing some fraud. For real. Investigate it. bring out the evidence. I'm absolutely interested to see how the courts play this one out. There's a risk that could carry on into 2022, 2024, and so on and so forth. But right now, I think the big fight that everyone needs to pay attention to is going to be Georgia. Georgia is going to be ground zero for the next few months because it will determine who controls the Senate. If the Senate is split 50-50, then the tie goes to Kamala Harris, which means it's going to be a Democrat-run Senate. All eyes on Georgia. But I just want to make sure I remind everybody, listen, man, it looks like the Republicans claim victory. Not without major losses in this battle, but definitely claiming victory for decades to come and for generations with the Supreme Court. Democrats should feel bad. I mean, you know what? The way I see it, let them dance in the street and think they've won. They've taken the throne, but they've lost so much. It's I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. Is it Pyrrhic Victory? They've taken massive damage to try and claim victory, but in the end, the battlefield will be held by the Republicans. The redistricting efforts are going to strengthen Republicans for the next 10 years, man. Take that one to the bank. All eyes on Georgia. Because a Democrat-controlled Senate or a tie that goes to the Democrats in the White House, I think that's going to get really bad. They're going to start doing really nasty things if that's the case. Republicans better now shift their focus to the runoff in Georgia. That's where ground zero will be. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel from this one, and I will see you all then.